G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Today we are doing a mock draft, the first one of the season. We're doing 12 teams head-to-head, 9 cat, and we've got a special guest joining us today. Let's go!
Jordan open, Chicago with the lead!
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy. And today, it is the first mock draft of the season, at least for myself. I'm a little bit behind this year, but it does feel cool kind of jumping in right in the thick of it as fantasy football for both Australians and Americans, at least the draft part is finishing up. And we can get diving straight into fantasy basketball chat. And today we're going to be doing a 12-team, 9-category head-to-head mock draft. And we're doing it with a guest. So we're going to jump straight over into the mock draft. And we are joined by Karan. How are you today, mate? Welcome to the pod for the first time.
Good, mate. How are you? Excited to make my debut on your show.
Yes, it is. That's exciting for me to have you on as well. Let's just resize this draft room here so I can fit all the picks on. And you are picking at pick number 1 in this mock draft here. I guess there's not too much debate, at least between 2 players, but do you have a guy in mind for this mock draft?
I'm leaning Wemby in most spots. I think if I have many leagues, I'd probably try to hedge my bets a little bit, potentially in Roto for Jokic, but it's probably like 80-20, 90-10 in Wemby's favor.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think just going to the fun factor as well. I think just having Wemby to me just sounds a little bit more fun. All right, we're going to start this draft. We've had it paused, so we'll put these people out of their misery and resume the draft. And you can make your pick there with Victor Wembanyama. I am picking at the dreaded this season, pick number 5 spot here. So I expect Shea and Luka to go in these next 2 spots. Is that where you would consider the consensus top 4?
Yes, that's the top 4 I would have, depending on where your playoffs are ending, whether Luka's number 4 or number 3. I'm okay with either option there. And then I think after that, it gets tricky because there's many directions you can go.
Yeah, I said in my my first round, top 12 players, I had a group of 3 players that I could see myself picking at this sort of spot. I'm going to go with the guy I did have at number 5, and that is Anthony Davis. Put him as my center. Look, he's obviously got his injury prone or injury risks, as does a lot of players in the first round. But for that reason, the fact that it's no longer only Anthony Davis that's the injury risk to me that makes it feel less risky, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like it's everyone else is healthy and then Davis is the only injury risky player, because that just seems to be a common theme for the back half of the first round. So I don't feel like it's as bad, and he has probably a higher upside than most of these other guys, and I think I can lean into a nice sort of punt threes or punt assist build with that sort of a pick. What are your thoughts on Anthony Davis this year?
Yeah, I think I have him and Giannis and Halliburton. Actually, probably Halliburton and those 3 in the same sort of tier. It gets tricky at 8 and 9 because that's when you got to make the decision on Embiid. But I'm okay with Davis at 5. I'd just as well be fine with Halliburton there as well, because you could build out a team with him as well. Yep. He's sort of the most healthiest one, even though he missed many games last year. But that's sort of the perception. It gets tricky at the end. Towards the end of the first round.
Yeah, I feel like I'm saying this more and more every single year, but the end of the first round, just you get sort of like 6, 7, 8 sort of first rounders, and then you've got 20 second rounders. It just feels like there's the steep drop off, I think, in per game value. Like, for example, someone like Jason Tatum, he might not be a first round player, but I'm very happy drafting him in the first round just because, comparatively to someone like Embiid, some of these other guys, Kevin Durant, all these other like older Steph Curry, it just seems like a bit of a safer pick. But so after my pick at 5, we went Halliburton at 6, Giannis at 7, so there's that 3. Then the drop off, I think, to Embiid at number 8. I'll get your thoughts on Embiid in a second. Then Kingy took Tatum at 9, Trey at 10, Anthony Edwards at pick 11, and Donovan Mitchell to round out the first round. What are your thoughts on Joel Embiid this year? He's going to be an interesting talking point.
Yeah, I mean, at pick 8, I feel that's probably where I would take him, 8 or 9, because there's no one else like available around there who has his upside.
Yep.
What I would do after that is potentially in the next few picks try and see if I can get some quote unquote sort of safer players there, or players who I feel would potentially be healthier for a longer time.
Yep.
What is sort of encouraging is he did play in the Olympics. He did look good in some games as well, for what it's worth. Maybe with Paul George there, some of the offensive load is lesser on him, which may not be the best thing for fantasy, but still may give him a sort of lesser chance of injury potentially. So I think at 8 it's fine. Anything before that is when I would be like, okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. It's that risk reward pick, and at this stage, I'm probably going to lean a bit more on the conservative side of I don't want to lose my draft in the first round, because I'm usually the type of person who will be fine taking injury risk. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be injured this season just because they were injured last season, but with someone like Embiid, the reoccurring knee injuries, just big body, multiple surgeries, same knee, that does make me scared. So I'm probably going to be a bit conservative, but if I get enough of that sort of 8, 9, 10 picks in some drafts, then there goes Sabonis, who I wanted. Then I might have a swing and try him there. All right, let's come up to my pick. Anthony Davis. So where am I going to lean here? I'm going to probably need some more scoring. This is sort of I'll have to make the decision where I let go. A punt threes, a punt assists, or both. I'm probably going to lean into the punt threes build. So I'm looking at Scotty as a potential player here. Do you think he continues his breakout from last year?
Yeah, I do like him in this second round area, because it is, again, like you said, the fun factor of watching him as well. I think his defensive stats, a lot of that could still come in a little bit lesser, maybe. But I do like him here, especially with pairing him with Anthony Davis.
Yeah, there was a few places I could have gone. Like I was looking at Chet, although you've got the addition of Hartenstein, which we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But anyway, it's coming around to your pick. You've got the back-to-back picks here. Who are you pairing with your superstar Wemby?
So I'm looking at, he's gone. So I was concerned. I wanted Lillard to come to me, but obviously he's not. So I want some scoring, because I'm trying to build out a balanced team here. Okay. So I don't want to punt anything at this point. So I want to get someone with assists at this juncture. So I'm leaning between potentially Brunson and De'Aaron Fox, but I think I'm going to go with Brunson for the first one. And then for the second one, I want to see if I can get another guard in there. So I'll probably go De'Aaron Fox there.
Okay. Are you worried with De'Aaron Fox with the addition of someone like a DeRozan?
Yeah, I mean, same sort of concern for Sabonis as well, and DeRozan's value this year as well. But I feel like with Fox, he upped his steals last year. While they may not stick at that level, there's a chance of him getting sort of 1.4, 1.3 steals there. He's upped his 3-point shooting as well. Pairs well with Wemby in terms of getting guards who score and give assists as well to sort of balance that out. I did think of Maxey here. I did think of LeBron as well, because again, I'm not picking again for 20 picks.
Yeah.
But I just want to sort of lean into that sort of the younger guards versus getting LeBron at this point.
Yeah. It is the sort of spot where you're on that turn where you can reach a little bit, and I've relaxed on my sort of stance over the years of reaching and getting a player who's quote unquote too high at this sort of spot. So I think that would be fine. I am back on the clock here. One thing I am considering with Anthony Davis is that last year he put his free throw percentage right back up there, and I'm wondering if that's going to be something that we see stick. I'm going to lean a little bit more into this punt threes build and get another guard who suits that pretty well in DeJounte Murray now that he's away from Trae Young. I'm really fascinated by this New Orleans Pelicans lineup, though. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how it fits. How do you see that lineup going for those guys over there? Like, surely, are we going to get a deal before the start of the season?
We would hope so. I mean, I think Brandon Ingram didn't show up for training that the players had, so that the drama could potentially start early. I think if the roster stands as it is, you probably have CJ coming off the bench as a sixth man potentially in that supercharged Jordan Clarkson role. Would be decent for a late round flyer there as well. But I would want to, based on where Ingram is right now, which is New Orleans, I would not be looking at him at the rounds that he is going based on ADP. I try to see if before the draft season kicks in, before a draft night, then has a decision been made on Ingram. If not, then we'll see accordingly moving forward.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it definitely is something that we will have to wait and see a little bit more. So hopefully the closer we get to fantasy draft season, the better of an outlook or more clear outlook we'll get with this situation. But at the moment, I like just going away from Trae Young has to be a slight positive in my eyes. So hopefully it's a decent spot. He seems to be someone that just sort of finds his way to this sort of area of a draft anyway. So happy with that. After my pick there, we went Tyrese Maxey. Şengün was another guy I was considering at that spot. He went 2 spots after that. Larry Marketing, Cade Cunningham, Bam Adebayo, Ja Morant, and then Karl Anthony Towns to round out the third round. And there goes my boy, the koala, Evan Mobley, who also was in my little shortlist there. So just keeps.
How are you sort of viewing him for this year, Mobley?
Look, I keep waiting for them to deal someone like Allen. It hasn't happened yet. I'm just a massive Mobley fan when it comes to like just his play. Would like to see him take a step forward in terms of his usage, which he's been creeping forward, but no big step forward. So I still view him as that top 40, top 36 kind of a player. I think the talent just gets him there alone.
I think there's potential for his blocks to go up as well. That he's at 1.5, 1.6 over the last few years. I think there's. I know he's playing at the 4.
Yeah, he needs more of those minutes at the center, I think.
Yeah, correct. So if they sort of do that a little bit more in terms of staggering it up a little bit more, even if Allen's not moved, I do feel there's potential there.
Yeah.
And I think him and Darius Garland, for that matter, are sort of not being slept on, but they're not being talked about as much as potentially how they were last year.
Yep. All right. So coming up to my pick after those Mobley picks, we went Paolo Banchero, who that seems like a fairly aggressive pick for him. What pick was that? Paolo at pick 38. Jeez. Okay. There goes Jalen Johnson, who was on my short list. I'm coming up to my pick, and I'm looking at. I don't love it, but Jimmy Butler is someone that I'm looking at this point here. It sort of suits my build if I want to save some free throw percentage. He's an interesting one. It's me on the clock here. Zion, if I want to really just lean into the punt free throws as well, is someone I could consider. I know you're a big Zion fan. You usually love a bit of Zion. What are your thoughts about him this season? Skinny Zion, are we...
It's almost like the Ben Simmons workout videos. We buy into it.
It does seem like that every year. But he looks, I don't know.
He does look more svelte, for sure. I think he has definitely another gear to go in scoring, man. I actually had him projected for close to 30 points last year. Obviously, that did not happen. But I do feel he has a gear to go in his scoring. Even if his defensive stats, potentially we never get the college levels, even though they went up last year. I think his scoring at that percentage with his assists, I like him in this range. I also like Butler, who you're talking about. I think in Josh's mock yesterday, I got him about 44 or 45.
Yep.
So as I think about what I want to do, potentially Butler is the one then.
Yeah, well, Butler, if he's there, I'd probably be taking him, although I start to stack up a few injury risks there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. He's an interesting one, obviously. Miami's a tough team to kind of get a gauge on. They always seem to be pushing and trying to do whatever it takes just to scrape into the finals or the playoffs, I should say. Whether that's to the detriment of his overall health. So you've gone Jimmy Butler there, and that was at pick 48, so end of the 4th round. I think that's pretty solid.
I think so as well. If he ends up playing 60 games, he beats this. It's just a question of does he play those 60 games? I feel like getting him in this stage, you're kind of sort of sort of getting him at that value wherein you're okay with that risk, sort of. Especially because the first 3 picks that I paired him with, they're sort of not as much of an injury risk at this point. I think the next one I want to really sort of solidify my assists, and I'm going to get into the Darius Garland business.
I like it. I think he has definite bounce back potential. Like, he was getting drafted 2 years ago in the second round because of the value of his assists. And situation hasn't changed too much. I feel like he just had a down year. I think there's lots of potential for him to bounce back. All right.
Definitely.
Coming up to my pick again. It's very interesting doing I mean, I literally have not done a single mock draft until this point, so flying a little bit blind here in terms of where players are going to be going, which is always fun. Who should I? Probably need to round out another big. Although, what am I looking strong in? I think Zion shored up my points a little bit there. Probably rebounds are looking solid. Okay. Jaylen Brown. I feel like that's very early for Jaylen Brown, personally. Okay, I probably want to avoid the Brooklyn areas. Rudy Gobert. What do I think about Rudy Gobert? Will he tank my free throws? My free throws are kind of in the toilet anyway, so let's lean further into that, I reckon, and just lock up the big man stats and lean a little bit more into the punt threes and free throws, and just go a bit further that way. So
yeah,
that should lock up my blocks, rebounds, field goal percentage is sky high, so I can start to afford to take a few more poorer field goal percentage guys in the later picks and shore up some more guard stats with those big man stats kind of locked away is the tactic here.
And and the punt free throw build is not a sexy one, right? So you'll get a lot of value towards the end of the draft with those big men who nobody really wants. And they're going to fit in really well with your build. I'm keen to get your thoughts on Siakam, though, right? Last year, Siakam I think he was like in the 70s. He finished in the 70s. He's going still in the 50s in every mock I've done, ADP data I've seen. So how are you seeing him for this year? With full season with Halliburton
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he always is a guy that, to me, in most situations, gets drafted before he should. Like, even when he was in, obviously the Raptors and things like that, he just has that, like, points, rebounds, assists. I think he gets boosted because of his points league value. But he's never been a guy to get defensive stats. His 3-point volume's a bit whatever. Free throws and field goal percentage are both slightly below average. So I do think it's a bit high. But the pace at which the Pacers go, ironically, could help someone like him. I always struggle to or temper expectations on projecting based on like a half of a season that we saw a player in a new situation in. So I don't want to read too much into what he did while he was there, more based on his body of work prior to that move. So I think it's okay, depending if you need it for a certain build. He went in a team that was Jokic, so I don't know, what is that? I'm not sure what that kind of a team, a bit more of a balanced build it looks like to me. So yeah, probably a bit high for me at that spot, maybe another round or so. I'd be happy to go with him there. All right, so after my pick, we went Vucevic, Giddey. Giddey's an interesting one. What are your thoughts about him at that sort of a spot? That's to me that seems a bit high. I'm not against drafting Giddey. I think he has breakout potential, but at 55, I think you're cutting off a lot of the upside.
Yeah, and I'd be okay with him around later from there, for sure. In the 60s and 70s. Oof, Cam Thomas is going high, man. This year as well. Is that
about where he's
taken him
been
in
going?
A few drafts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going in the 60s and 70s. In fact, I've probably taken him around here as well. I think that scoring boost people are sort of big on, and I think that potentially he has an ability maybe to up some of his peripheral stats because he's not really starting from a lot to begin with, right? As you think about your pick, and Jordan Poole as well, who just went right before you. He's not going at that level he used to last year in the 30s, but now he's coming back up in the 6-7 rounds.
Yeah, geez, okay. Some interesting picks being made here. Where do I want to go? I feel like assists are drying up quickly. Oof. All right, I'm going to shore up some scoring. I don't love this pick, but let's go with Zachy Levine. Look, I'm surprised Zach Levine's gone behind Cam Thomas and Jordan Poole. I don't know what your thoughts are there. Like similar players, would you take Levine ahead or behind those guys?
Funny, I think yesterday in Josh's draft, I took Levine before Poole and Thomas. I feel like last year he was going in the top 30s, top 35, 40, right? And even if you bake in the potential trade rumors and whatever's going on, I think in the 60s, you don't get that kind of scoring and that kind of upside as well. You could beat the spot by 20 spots, and then you're laughing, right? That's extracting value.
Yeah, that's my thinking. Again, I'm going into this without knowing much of like ADP data and if I could get someone a bit later or not. So this is me informing myself as well. But I personally, just at face value, would be probably drafting someone like Levine ahead of like your Thomas Poole sort of types who you're projecting to improve to the point that Levine's already been at. So, but no, interesting, very interesting. Mark Williams goes after me. Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, and then Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that's a great pick. I was looking at him, but I felt like my rebounds and field goal was already pretty good, so didn't need what he provided, but I think that's good value with him at 72. Do you expect him to start at OKC?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. I think with the money he's got, he will start. He may not get 30 minutes, maybe like 27, 26, 28 at high level, but I think he starts. I realized that after Wemby, I didn't take any big men for a while, so now I really need to sort of get into getting them because the run for big men really starts now, right? So you saw it in this round as well. You got Allen, you got Ayton taken up, you got Mark Williams, Hartenstein. So the idea with the big men is if you don't get them in these runs, then you're really sort of you're not going to get much towards the end. You got a few flyer types, but it's going to get trickier.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, coming back around to me, and I've got Brandon Ingram in my sights here. I don't know if I want to just draft all of New Orleans players. It does kind of suit what I need. Otherwise, I could lean into someone like a Kuzma at this sort of point. Do we expect him to continue to do what he sort of did last year? Need to shore up these assists, which are going to start to become very difficult to get later. Unless I rely on like a Chris Paul late. Ooh, don't love this point of the draft. It's always this point of the draft that I don't love. Let's lean into a Kuzma. I think we'll shore up some more scoring, some more assists. Obviously, I don't care about his poor percentages because my field goal is already really strong and my free throws is in the toilet, so I don't care. Defensive stats may be starting to become a bit of an issue. Blocks by Davis and Gobert can sort of hold me, but maybe some steals late. So some assists and steals is probably what I'm going to be trying to shore up in these next few rounds. So those are my thoughts there. After my Kuzma pick went Reeves, Russell, and Trey Murphy. I like that Trey Murphy pick. Although, again, New Orleans just seems like one of the biggest question marks this season. Anthony Simons and Tyler Hero. Any spicy picks there? I feel like this is all pretty stock standard this round so far. No crazy picks. Do you think Ingram at that spot is... Where do you have Ingram with again, the New Orleans debacle?
It's interesting that Murphy went before Ingram, right? I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but it's just that maybe last year that wouldn't be happening, and no. Ingram would be. I think I would lock him in as a starter, even if he's not traded or whatever the situation is with him. So that's interesting. I think the other one was the two picks that stood out to me in the last round with Kessler in that range, and then Drew Holiday as well. Kessler, for example, like earlier on when the mock season started, he was going outside the top 100, so he's really starting to creep up. I'm not sure if he starts in Utah or not, but if he does start, this is good. But that's something that stood out to me as well.
Yeah, for sure. What are we in the 8th round now? CJ McCollum goes. So there's basically all the New Orleans players off the board. Jabari Smith to Jordan there as well. Okay, let's start to have a look. Jonas Valanciunas at Washington. I feel like that's a low upside kind of pick there, although I think, is that an auto draft team? Yeah, auto draft team. All right, Kingy's on the block here. Let's have a look at what he's been doing. So he's been going Tatum, LaMelo, Cade. So it looks like he's going a little bit of a punt field goal percentage team, which does seem like Kingy and his kind of flavour there. He has the one centre in Jalen Duren. So maybe, what's that? Yeah, punt blocks, punt field goal percentage team. And then he goes with OG, which... In New York, what do you expect about OG in New York for a full season?
I think there's a lot of mouths to feed on that team at the moment. And even their sixth man and seventh man are proper rotation players. So yeah. I'm okay with Anunoby, but maybe a round or two later, because he does have that steals upside with threes as well. That you want that sort of stability in your draft as well.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit low upside and a bit of volatility. Obviously, if you're relying on those defensive stats, you'll have some weeks where he's not really rosterable and some weeks where he's doing great with those types of players. And I agree, New York is there's a lot of usage to be dished out to a few different players that probably require it. All right, let's have a look here. So Kobe White's is at the top of my draft board. Is the reason he's fallen this far just the Josh Giddey concern? Is that what everyone's worried about?
Giddey, the full season of Levine, even though DeRozan's gone, Giddey and then Levine, and then the rumors of Lonzo doing 5-on-5 and potentially coming in. I don't think he's going to be much of a fantasy factor, but just the aura of him being there as well is potentially what's getting Kobe to slip a little bit. Plus, I think his minutes from last year, because he was playing maybe like 36, I want to say, 35 minutes. There's a possibility with Giddey and everyone and Levine back that reduces as well. That's probably the rationale I see for him slipping a bit.
Yeah, so I've gone and selected Jakob Poeltl there just to give me another really solid big man with some... He gives me some sneaky assists and steals as far as big man goes. So was happy to sort of shore up that there, and I've got a good 3 center rotation going on there. After that goes RJ Barrett, who... the Toronto RJ Barrett, I don't know, still a bit rich for my blood. Kobe White finally gets picked up, and then Terry Rozier, and it's on to your double pick. What are we leaning?
Yes, I think I want a little bit. I want a little bit of scoring back. But with Nurkic and Hardenstein, you kind of that's not that sort of strong suit. So I want to take Middleton here. I feel like even if he misses the first few weeks of the season, if he comes back, he potentially beats this by 20 spots. I think people are just worried about his ankle surgery, which is fair, I guess. And I think the other one now, because I'm not picking again for another year maybe, but I want to get some scoring in. So this is what should I go for?
There's a few interesting guys at the top of the draft board.
Yeah, it's rough. I am going to go for Keontae here.
Oh, okay.
Keontae
so
George.
97th pick, Keontae George. What are your expectations of Keontae George at this point?
I think for me, it's the opportunity he has on that team with being the lead guard. Obviously, Sexton's there as well. I think he has some upside in threes and assists as well from last season. His free throw rate could improve as well. He did have a good free throw rate before he came into the NBA. And for me, since I don't pick again for the next 20-odd picks, it maybe it's slightly earlier. But when you're in that spot, you just got to get your guys in.
Yeah. I'm going to take a little bit of a punt here as well in someone that I had in some spots last year, and he was bad for a long stretch, but I'm still a believer, and I'm going to take Scoot Henderson, I think, at this spot. Pick 101. He fits what I'm looking for, points, assists, which are going to be very difficult to get later. I feel like I'm strong enough in my field goal percentage with Zion, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, and all these guys to cover up his lack of field goal percentage, and I'm punting the threes and free throws. So he kind of does exactly what I need him to do with a good bit of upside, I still think. So do you reckon Scoot, 101, do you think I could have got him later, or have you seen him been going around this sort of spot in drafts?
Around the spot, even around earlier. And to be honest with you, I was between Keontae and Scoot.
Okay.
Literally just I had Scoot in a couple of other drafts, and I took Keontae because I feel like just maybe a little bit more threes there, which I felt my team was sort of weakish in. But I have them right next to each other. I just want to see what happens with Anthony and Shaden there, and the role he sort of comes on with. But it would be really shocking if he's not playing 33 minutes a night.
I'd agree. Like, they've invested so heavily. Like the reason they traded Lillard really was because they had Scoot Henderson. They're not going to just, put him on the bench, much at all with the second year in mind. I think he still has a lot of room to improve, even though he was a bit disappointing in his first year. I'm still a decent believer. And rookie guards, like, I think there's a chance he could be like that Darius Garland, where you just see that massive improvement from year 1 to 2, and probably again from year 2 to 3. I think it's the classic tale of those rookie guards just starting shit. It's a hard to adjust in the NBA to that kind of speed, so I think he'll improve. Jalen Suggs goes by Kingy there. I think that's a pretty shrewd pick. He was on my short list.
That's a great pick.
Yeah, just solid, man. He's the type of player that I love to watch. And there goes Podziemski. What are your thoughts about Pods at that sort of a spot? Golden State's an interesting team, very different this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there. I mean, Buddy Hield and DeAnthony Melton, the roles they fit in on. But I think Pods is going to start 30 plus minutes. I think at this spot he's good. And what you said about Scoot, right? The second year guys, I just wrote this in a piece as well. Like, De'Aaron Fox was also really bad from the 2-point line in his rookie year. Darius Garland, obviously, as you said. And they both improved it by like 6-7%.
Yeah.
So who's to say that Scoot, who's the athlete he is, he can't improve it as well, right? And similar for Keontae as well. Like, there's clear sort of pathways for improvement.
Yeah.
That I see.
Yeah, and I think, like, I was, in his draft year, like, I was comparing it to someone like John Wall. Was a pretty clear comp, and I think he had a similar trajectory as well back in the day. The athleticism is there. There's no reason he can't be a high, good percentage rim finisher, which I think obviously let him down last year. So I do expect that to improve. All right, coming around to my pick, I'm still lacking a forward, although Anthony Davis could fill that forward spot, so it's not that big of a deal. Scotty Barnes, Murray, Levine, Zion, Kuzma. Look, I think it's shaping out okay. I'm probably maybe a little bit more punt heavy than I would have liked, but we're going to steer into it. What am I lacking? Probably still need some good steals. So someone like a Marcus Smart is there on my short list. If I want to complete some more New Orleans players, I could get Herb Jones. Although, there goes Marcus Smart. Asar Thompson. What do you reckon about Detroit's lineup? Asar's a tricky one. Do you think he's a bit of boom or bust, I reckon, at that spot?
Yeah, I feel for Detroit, right, there are again a lot of people, there are a lot of players there, right? I mean, there's Fontecchio there, there's Beasley there, obviously they got into Tobias. They have their number 5 pick as well if they really want to prioritize him. So I'd be keen to see sort of the way they line up in preseason, and then potentially have more data there to make a decision. But I love Asar as a prospect. I mean, at this range, after round 10, round 11, it's like you're getting into that flyer territory anyways. So.
I think I'm going to go somewhere different flyer. I don't know if this is early for him. It probably is. But fuck it. I'm gonna send it, and I'm going to draft my fellow Australian in Dyson Daniels at that spot.
I wanted him, man.
Oh, okay, were you going to get him on the turn?
I was, yeah. Even I was looking at his steals and stuff. Okay. Go on. Cool. I love it.
I wasn't sure if it was early. I was going to wait another round, but I thought, I don't know, he fits what I want. So I think, do we expect him to start? I feel like him starting next to Trey, you've got Jalen Johnson there. I worry about the shooting and the spacing and if that's actually where they're going to go, but do we think he can be a starter?
Yes, and he's a great fit with Trey, right? Given his defensive sort of prowess there. As I come on to my pick and I decide what I'm going to do, I'm thinking, should I look at a few more big men? Do I need potentially some more rebounds? All right, let's have a crack, right? Let's pick 120. I want to have a crack at the first sort of rookie to come off, Alex Saad. And then with my second one, I do like this guy. I do like where he's at as well. I'm deciding between Jeremy Sohan and Trace Jackson Davis because I think Sohan's going to start. Jackson Davis, I'm not certain about it. So I'm going to lean into the guy who I think is going to start.
Yep.
And give me some out of position sort of assists there, decent rebounds, maybe has some sort of potential for his defensive stats to come up as well.
Yeah, I like Sohan. I think he's got a bad taste in the top of his mouth with the point guard thing, which didn't really work out. But I think he still offers a whole lot, right? And I think not being forced to play that kind of role, which isn't quite his strength, although he can play it in patches, but as a full-time role, I think it's a bit of a disservice to him. So I think when he's going a bit more to his natural kind of playmaking, point forward sort of role, I think he could be really, really good. All right, what should I do here? A few interesting names still at the top here. Do I take the plunge on Asar now? D'Anthony Melton. Kind of feel like he's going to just do what he normally does. Okay, we're really in crap territory here. All right, let's go. Actually, I'm going to go left field. Let's go Shaden Sharp. Again, probably feels like the last sort of spot where I can get some scoring.
Yeah.
So, starters at this sort of spot, starters that have upside, I think is a bit of rarefied air. I'll go back to your pick of Alex Sarr. I don't know if this is just... I got to see Alex Sarr a couple times down here in Australia live, and he didn't impress me. And I've not been very high on him since the draft. Is it just opportunity, stat set, I guess the theoretical upside for Sarr that had you sort of picking him there?
Yeah, just his blocks upside. He's going to get opportunity, right? Given the draft equity he comes along with, right? He's going to get a chance to sort of get as much crack as he wants. Even though they obviously have Valanciunas, but Sarr doesn't want to play the five anyway. So
yep.
I feel like getting a guy who could potentially average 1.6, 1.7 blocks here, and it's also fun to have a rookie as well. When you play fantasy, you want some of those picks as well. And
he's the first rookie off the board.
If he did not,
he's the first.
Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, he should be right.
Edie's still.
And I think Edie's still there. I think the 0-15 shooting is sort of living rent-free with everyone at the moment in Summer League when he literally couldn't hit a shot. But yeah, I think it's worth a crack here. If it doesn't work out, you sort of get someone else from the waiver wire.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I don't think I'll be drafting many, if any, rookies this season personally. I don't see too much of the upside. There goes Reed Shepherd, the other rookie in Houston. I think he's buried in the depth chart. I don't see the upside there. I mean, maybe in February, March, but I think he needs some injuries or moves for him to really get out there. I feel like that's a pick that you're going to be dropping very early in the season. What are your thoughts?
I agree. And if they really wanted Reed Shepherd, I'm pretty certain he'd be available in the second last round as well.
I agree, yeah.
There's too many guys in Houston, man. There's about 7 or 8 good NBA rotation players, and yes, he's the number 3 pick, but Van Fleet's not going anywhere. No. So Amen's there, and they still have Jalen Green, who they gave a number 2 pick to. They want to see what happens there. Maybe he gets moved, but we don't know that just yet. So yeah, there's all for Flyers, but the pathway for him is not as clear.
That's right. Yeah, you want to take the. Oh, there goes Zach Edey, who I was considering. It's all good for Flyers, but you want to be not necessarily just wasting the picks. Like you got to start to think about, okay, can I realistically see? Oh fuck! Ben Simmons just went. Jesus. I get sucked into Ben Simmons every year. I don't know if it's going to happen, but what are your thoughts on old Simo?
Every single year, mate. Last year, the year before that, the year before that, I have been taking Ben Simmons religiously. Zion and Ben have been sort of my two weaknesses, or however you want to see it, even though Zion had a good year last year. But I was looking at Ben in this round. In fact, I was looking at him when I took Sohan as well. I just felt that maybe Ben would come back to me. But yeah, there's not many players you're getting at this stage who have, if he plays, he could give you 8, 6, and 6 with 1.5, 1.4 steals.
Yep. I drafted Aaron Gordon there, who's, look, I don't think he's an upside play, but I took a few riskier picks with Sharp, Scoot, and Daniels, the 3 picks beforehand. So I've sort of done it in reverse order. I think Aaron Gordon's just pretty solid. I had him last year, and he has his moments. I think on an average, it doesn't look as sexy, but on a week-to-week basis, he does have some games where he can put up 2 or 3 steals and blocks, and the counting stats are solid-ish. So kind of just a boring pick after some more exciting picks in the last few rounds. All right, you've gone Malcolm Brogdon. Do you expect him to start or pull or?
He's there right now. They haven't moved him. There's been no chatter of it. I feel like 27, 28 minutes, he potentially gets to a good level there, gives me some assists, some decent percentages. I think for my next one, I want to shore up my threes a little bit, so I'm going to take a flyer at this point. I'm going to go in for the Toronto, the rookie from last year.
Oh, get some dick in your team. And okay.
Get some. We could all use some dick from Toronto in our team. And so no, I mean, I think again, it's a flyer territory, and I think he has some upside in threes. Maybe if he touches the ball for sort of playmaking, he can get a few assists in as you're sort of thinking about your pick. And if he doesn't, well, this is the last few picks, and then you drop and you move.
Yeah, we're really getting into the point where, again, early in my preseason, I haven't dug into the weeds when it comes to these late round flyers. And obviously when you're drafting, this draft we've got about 8 other analysts in this one. So there's not too many obvious flyers that might be available in other drafts. I'm going to go full flyer territory. And I think this guy has a decent amount of upside in Nikola Jovic for the Heat. A lot of good raps about this player, and when you're a big guy who can play make a little bit, I think there's some good upside there. It might not be to start the year, so it might be someone I drop, but I can see it playing out. What are your thoughts on Jovic as a flyer?
Yeah, I mean, some people, like after the draft happened this year, they were like, oh, actually, Khalil Ware is going to start, Bam's going to move to the 4. I feel like Jovic is still going to have the first crack at that starting spot. And then, obviously we see where it goes from there. And at this stage, you get a guy who could give you some assists out of position as well, potentially. He does have that skill set. So, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, look, it's the kind of pick I can see myself dropping after a week, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, we're still a fair way out from the start of the season in terms of rotations, so just someone I think just to put on your radar more than anything to demonstrate that kind of upside. After my pick, we went Kelly Olynyk, Jaden Ivey, Gary Trent, PJ Washington, and Josh Hart. So, a couple of familiar names there. Is there any picks in the last couple of rounds that you sort of really like or really hate in any particular teams there?
I think when you look at PJ Washington there, the king he got, right? I think that's he's a starter. That's great value at that point, man. I mean, I was considering him at my Grady Dick pick as well. I do like that. Kevin Porter, I picked him in Josh's mock yesterday in my last pick, just as you said, sort of demonstrate that if he comes back and if he has a suspension and he comes back after that, there is potentially a role in the Clippers with Westbrook gone and with Paul George gone if they need shot creation. But again, I don't feel good about it at all. It's just like the Miles Bridges pick from last year, but it's just to sort of show that there is a chance there.
Yeah, don't forget about this guy kind of thing. There goes Wendell Carter, who I took him last year in the industry pickup way earlier than this, and he was so disappointing. Just the center rotation in Orlando just seems very, very clunky. I think if there's an injury, he could return decent value. He's got a pretty rough fantasy game as it is. But no, interesting to see him fall as far as he does. Oh, Kingy, he's running out of time. Oh, he got the auto pick. I'll pause the draft and see if he wants to redo that one. Want that one back. Oh, the old Jared McCain. The
TikTok legend.
Oh, man. Let's undo that pick and we'll see if we can go that one again. Come on, Kingy. Last pick. Just send it, mate. It is 6 o'clock in the morning over there in Perth time, so we'll cut him some slack. He's gone up early for his mock draft, so we'll cut him some slack on that one. And he's gone KCP, who in Orlando now, I feel like you're getting the classic KCP steals and threes at the end of the draft. Bit more of a streamer, but I guess it's okay. All right, upside. I think I'm hoping that Bilal Coulibaly comes back to me here. Just betting on a really young prospect getting better, I think at this point has opportunity in Washington. So, yeah, he's going to be my pick. Don't really know what to expect, but it's this kind of a player that I think you can see similar to like a Scoot Henderson in a way, super raw coming to the draft. We'll just take a flyer on him and hopefully there's some improvement.
I like that because it's like similar to that Dyson Daniels mold of player, right? He has upside in defensive stats as well. His defense is going to keep him on the floor. They did invest a high draft pick in him as well. After that, obviously, Norman Powell went and Jonathan Isaac. I like Isaac there. I think that's a good flyer pick. He did start to play a little bit more towards the end of last year. For me, I'm deciding between Reece Shea and Klingon. Reece Shea I may not be the biggest believer in him as a number one pick, but he's going to get opportunity. It's the last pick, doesn't really matter. Or Klingon, just because rookie big men are the ones who, even though Aiden's there and Robert Williams is there theoretically as well, rookie big men are the one which do have a bigger impact in fantasy. If he gets somehow managed to squeeze into 18 to 20 minutes, right, he could have 1.5 to 2 blocks. So that's my rationale for both of them. I'm just going to take Reece Shea, but just as well with Klingon as well.
Yeah, I think I probably would have lent that way myself. The court just seems too crowded there with the amount of. I think if there's a move, then he could be someone, but I don't think he's personally worth stashing until we see that. It might be someone you always keep on your watch list, and then go from there. So. Let's go through your team and just sort of give us a quick little summary of how the team worked out. So started with Wemby, obviously, and then what was your sort of strategy from there, and how do you think you went?
Yep. So with Wemby, I went the next sort of 4-5 picks. I went with guards. So I got Brunson there and De'Aaron Fox. I want to shore up those assists, get that scoring in as well. And then defensive stats for De'Aaron Fox. And then at round 4, I took Butler at 48, just because I feel at that range, I'm okay taking the risk on his health. Darius Garland, I'm going to bounce back for him, potentially with good assists, good threes there as well. And then after that, then I got into more well, okay, now I need to shore up the big man again because I've gone proper deep into guards. And that's when I took Hartenstein with in my round 6 pick and Nurkic back to back. I think Hartenstein gets 27, 28 minutes and he gets this value. Nurkic as well. I mean, he's not going to give you a lot of blocks, but he does have a double threat every night with assists as well. Did have a good year sneakily last year.
Yeah, he did.
Then in round 8 is Middleton. Yes, he has the ankle issue at the moment, but I feel at that stage, even if he misses a little bit of the season, I feel that's decent value to get some points in. Then I went into my flyer zones because I wasn't picking again for a long time. So that's when I took Keontae. It was between Keontae and Scoot at that point, and basically a coin flip. Coming back around in round 10 is Alex Sarr, the first rookie I took. And that's just for the element of his blocks and his potential in rebounds as well. Jeremy Sohan, Brogdon, Grady Dick, and Risa Shea to sort of close it off as flyer type people.
When you start with Wemby, is it sort of like a case where you can almost forget about blocks for the majority of the draft? Like, would that like weigh into your thinking there? Obviously, you went 5 guards after that, and even like Nurkic, you said, is not a huge shot blocker for a big. Is it just that safety blanket of having Wemby there that you can almost ignore that category?
I think you still need to get maybe one more, maybe like if it's an elite shot blocker, like 1.8 and above, or maybe 2 1.4 or 1.3s, because if you don't shore that up, then you're maybe a team which has Anthony Davis like yours, right? And you sort of build it out from there and get shot blockers, and you have a chance of beating the Wemby team. Yeah. So I would get a few more shot blocking people. And just the last one on my team, I think I just looking at the team, field goal is not as strong as I expected. I think that's probably one of the biggest punt builds that you can lean on with Wemby, and then turnovers. That's something I just disregard in general. But yeah, the field goals is not that strong. Rebounds are decent. Assists are very strong. Steals are good. Blocks are good. Points and threes are sort of above average. Yeah. So that's how my team sort of shaped out in the end.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think there's a few solid good value picks there as well. Hinging on, I guess, what Sarr does and what Keontae George can do. My team started with Anthony Davis, so wasn't sure exactly where I'd go. Sort of wanted to lean into the punt threes build, and I think I turned it into a bit of a punt free throw build as well once I selected Zion, which I'm okay with. Was conscious of the scoring, so DeJounte Murray's not the biggest scorer. Scotty Barnes, as far as the top 2 rounds go, not the biggest scorer, so wanted to get some big points with Zion there. And then, so I followed that up with Rudy Gobert. So my field goal percentage was crazy strong at that point. So later in the draft, selecting players like Levine, Kuzma, Scoot, Shaden Sharp, all these guys that usually get penalized for their poor field goal percentage, poor efficiency, doesn't matter too much for my team with the strong field goal that I'd built up earlier. So was pretty happy to do that there. So I feel like I've got some pretty solid rebounds, field goals, blocks, I think are very strong. Assists and steals and points are probably where it's going to come down to for me. So maybe a little weaker in the scoring than I would probably like, although you've got some guys in there. So I think I put myself in a solid chance on a week-to-week basis. So let us know down in the comments section below there, guys, what you think about both of our teams. And Karan, do you have anything you want to plug before we close out the episode today, mate? What have you got going on for this fantasy season?
Yeah, man, firstly, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. You can find me on Twitter at Karan_Talwar27. I've got a free newsletter going on at the moment. The link is in my bio on Twitter. I've been pumping out content lately, sort of the last few articles have been around later round picks, second-year players. I did a piece on handcuffing as well. Yes, that's about fantasy basketball.
Okay, yes.
And then, yes, I'm excited for the season. So, yeah, find me on Twitter and let's sort of get ready for the season.
Yeah, definitely. Karan is one of the smartest fantasy basketball minds out there, if I do say so myself. He's very on top of it. He's a very smart guy and has the accolades to back it up with his win. Was it a couple years ago? Was it the Locked On Fantasy Basketball or was it World Cup? I can't remember which one you took out.
I mean, I don't know about smartest, but I mean, Locked On Fantasy Ball, yeah, that was the one, the Battle Royale.
Hey, if you ever take out a competition like that, I think you've got a bit of fantasy nous about you. So do check him out. I'll leave his Twitter handle in the comments or the link description down below. So hit that one up, guys. Let me know what you want to see for the rest of this fantasy basketball season. We're going to be increasing the amount of videos that are coming up on a week-to-week basis. So look out for all those videos. Like and subscribe to the channel, guys, and we will see you guys later. Catch you later. Bye.